right, today's date is April 9th, 2022. We're here in Urbana, Illinois. I'm Jacob.
I'm Lucas.
I'm Max.
I'm Marie.
And we're sitting here today with
Edgar.
Edgar, could you please tell us your story?
Yeah, so my story begins 2016. I was a senior in high school. So I had a lump in my lower stomach. I could feel it, but I didn't think much of it. But I still went to the doctor, and he thought that it was just like an infection. So I got antibiotics. He said it was going to be fine. So that was in November of 2016. And so I kind of just took his word for it, and I was like, it's fine. So I took the antibiotics, I finished it, and then it didn't get smaller, it only got bigger. So at this point, like I could actually really feel it. And it was just underneath my skin. So I decided to go back to that doctor in January of 2017. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, this is kind of weird. We'll send you to a specialist and see what they say. And so I live in a small community. So I drove maybe like 15 minutes away to like a small hospital, and then specialists from the town was called Quincy, Illinois, came to that hospital. And then, so he saw me early February, and then I got in and everything. And he finally came in the room, and he's like, he kind of looked at me and he's like, can I see what's going on? I was like, yeah. And so he started touching it, and he started looking at it. He's like, okay, well, I'm really concerned about this. So we're going to put you through the ER room, and we're going to make them get an ultrasound of it. And I was like, okay. And this was like 5 p.m. already. So I went through the ER room. I got the scans. And he came in like 30 minutes later, and he's like, yeah, this is not good. So I actually want to perform surgery on you tomorrow because I'm concerned that this is cancer or a tumor, whether it's malignant or not. That's something I want to know. So the next morning, it was like 8 in the morning. I had surgery in Quincy, and then he removed the tumor, and then I was just home laying down. I was away from school for about 3 or 4 days, and then he's like, I'm going to run through tests and then call you and see what I find. And so he did. He called me like 5 days later, and he's like, you have cancer. And then he's like, I'm going to send you an oncologist, but it looks like you don't have any tumors left or anything, so you'll be fine. I was like, okay. It made me feel a little better. And so like 2 weeks later, I went to see an oncologist, and pretty much to summarize what he said is like, I can't do anything for you. So my type of cancer is rhabdomyosarcoma. So sarcomas in the US are pretty rare. He's like, I can't do anything for you. I've never seen any cancer like this, so I'm going to send you to St. Louis. Pretty much, good luck. I'll see you later. And so I went to St. Louis. I saw a sarcoma specialist. He told me that it looked like I didn't have any more cancer. So he said, maybe we'll do chemotherapy on you for like 6 months and you'll be good. And then he's like, but I do need a second surgery just to make sure your lymph nodes aren't full of cancer. This was in April. And then in May, I had my second surgery. And it was like a lymph node removal from my stomach area. And it was only supposed to be like a 2-hour surgery, 3-hour surgery max. Ended up being like a 9-hour surgery. And they found like 3 more tumors. So this was like after my senior prom. It was literally like 2 days after it. And so at that point, they're like, you have like a level 4 cancer. So while that was happening, I went to the first oncologist that I visited. And this is such an interesting thing he said to me. And it's something that stuck with me for so long. He said, so what do you want to do with your life? Like, what's your goal? Like, what's your dream? And I was like, oh, like I want to go to college. I want to be a lawyer. I want to do all these things. And he's like, he looked at me. He's like, don't do that. He's like, just travel the world and enjoy it while you can, because you don't know how much you have left. And I was like, okay. And so that was a big slap in the face. One, because I was very optimistic of my diagnosis, but then he just came in there and like slapped me in the face. So after that, I never saw that doctor anymore. So I just saw my primary doctor in St. Louis. Right before my graduation, I visited my oncologist just to go over what was next. And so I went in there, and he told me like, oh, like you're always gonna live with cancer, like you're like a stage 4 cancer, like your chemotherapy regimen is going to be super tough. And he took my dad out of the consultation, spoke with him. I don't know what he said. Um, and he came back in, and then he's like, we're going to start chemotherapy on you next week. So I got a port put in. I had graduation. After Memorial Day weekend, I started my chemotherapy. So at the beginning, it was only 2 chemotherapy regimens. Then I was going to get a scan and reevaluate. So at this point, my cancer was malignant, and it was spread throughout my body. So I had it in my chest, my stomach. I had it a little bit in my spine. I had it in my legs too. So I did 2 rounds of chemotherapy. They call it the red devil. That's what they call the medicine, because as soon as they put it in, it pretty much sucks the life out of you. So I finally went back to the doctor after those 2 regimens, and he said, you don't have cancer anymore. So that was very surprising, because they told me like you have so much cancer, and then literally like a month and a half later, you have no cancer. But that wasn't it for my journey. So after that, I had 56 weeks of continuous chemotherapy. So sometimes I would go into the hospital Monday. I would have Monday through Friday, and these chemotherapies were between anywhere from 2 hours to 9 hours. Once the word got out that I had cancer, they made like events for me, they raised money. And then like throughout my 56 weeks, like my friends were quite a bit of help. And at the same time, I was kind of like, if cancer's gonna take me out, like I ain't gonna go down without fight. And then so funny enough, throughout this 56 weeks, I was literally being the same person. I tried to be the same person as I was even without cancer. So I would literally go out and do stuff all the time if I could. If I had the energy, like I would go out and do it. Like I was at Six Flags. I wasn't supposed to be at Six Flags, but I was at Six Flags. Like I would go like, hang out with my friends, do the things that I could do. So yeah. And then on June 20th, I was finally diagnosed. I was finally made cancer free. So I got to ring my bell, my victory bell. So that was very exciting. But June 20th wasn't like my official end of stuff. After that, I still had 4 weeks of radiation. So I just literally try to live my life normally. And I feel like that helps so much, because I was like, I don't have anything. Like I don't have anything. And then when there was obviously times where I felt really bad, but just hanging out with my friends, doing crazy things, just I guess going against my doctor's orders every once in a while was also good too. So I think that's what kept me going through my 56 weeks.
Is there anything that you notice about your personality or outlook that is different?
Yeah, so I think the biggest outlook for me is appreciating the little things so much more. I think there's a lot of things we take for granted in life because we have so many stressors around us. And one of the things that it taught me was slow down, make sure you enjoy the moment you're in right now. And then at the same time, like in my college experience, every time like I go through a struggle or whatever it is for myself, I always think where I was. And then I always think of the people that I met in my journey and all the kids in children's hospitals and all the other patients that maybe are going through a much tougher time. I kind of take that into perspective and don't let small things kind of stress me out as much as they used to. And then definitely enjoy making memories. So I finished everything July. It was like July 25th, and then I started college 3 weeks later.
Wow.
So yeah, so that was pretty much kind of my story, kind of summarized a little bit. So last year at Hope Talks not at Hope Talks, at the Relay for Life for us, it was virtual, and so I was writing my speech up because I was gonna give my survivor speech, and then so I called my dad and I was like, hey, like I never asked you what he told you, but I'm guessing he told you how much I had to live. And I was like, how much did he give me? And he did tell me. He told me, he's like, I never told you, but he gave you less than a year. He said, take advantage of your son, because I don't give him more than a year. So I'm very glad that I didn't hear that, because that would have been pretty bad. But I also never asked, because I knew that what it was about. So, but yeah, he told me your son has about a year to live. So, and that just even made me be like, damn, like I just really went through that.
Yeah.
Once I hit that 5-year mark, the likelihood of it coming back is pretty slim.